Hey everyone. Back in the second quarter of 2006, AMD launched the Sempron 3200 Plus, a single-core CPU based on the Manila architecture for socket AM2 motherboards. Originally costing somewhere between $90 to $105 at the time, or roughly $120 to $140 today, the single-core 3200 Plus, a part of AMD's Sempron range of budget CPUs, which replaced the Duron series of processors, and was marketed as a competitor to Intel's Celeron line, featured only 81 million transistors, built on the 90nm fabrication process. Although, given how loosely the nanometer number is used with CPUs and graphics cards today, I'm not sure if that was actually 90nm or not. 3200 Plus, despite the name, didn't actually run at 3200 MHz, or 3.2 GHz. It ran at only 1.8 GHz. It also had only 128 kilobytes of L1 cache, and 128 kilobytes of L2 cache as well, which is relatively nothing compared to even the lowest performing processors you can buy today. It did, however, carry 64-bit support, which wasn't that widely used back then, and support for DDR2 memory in dual channel mode as well. There was also a more energy-efficient version released at the same time. It had the same specs and ran at the same speed, but with a lower voltage, hence less power draw. So I'm not sure what the point of the higher power draw version was then. There probably was one, but not one that I can see right now. That aside, I'm going to be taking this near 16-year-old single-core monster for a spin with Windows 10 and some games to see what sort of performance it can offer in a modern operating system. And spoiler alert, it's not good. First up was The Adventure Pals, an indie-developed adventure platformer game released in 2018. This game tends to run on pretty much anything, but as you can see, it's running pretty poorly on the Sempron 3200 Plus. There was noticeable micro-stuttering throughout the test, with noticeable hitches throughout at points as well. An immediately noticeable problem, at least for those that have played the game before, is the input lag. It's nothing game-breaking, but definitely enough to notice. The game is also running noticeably slower than it is supposed to. Even the audio stutters as well. To be fair to the Sempron though, the Adventure Pals is 12 years younger than it is, so I tried running GTA San Andreas, which released in 2004. Performance really wasn't good here either. In fact, it performed worse than the Adventure Pals did. It had the same kind of problems with stuttering, but had hitches at points throughout which were more noticeable. I also had some problems with input locking as well, where you'd be driving, for example, take your finger off of the buttons for accelerating and steering, but the game would take a while to register that you're not pressing those buttons anymore, and would continue in the direction you were going before. This wasn't much of an issue though, as it didn't happen often enough, nor was it bad enough to stop you from progressing. Moving on to Skyrim, and the problems get even worse. I don't know why, but part of me was expecting it to perform far better than it did, or at least better than, say, the Adventure Pals, but it was in fact the worst performing game in the benchmarks today. And to be clear, this is the original version of Skyrim, released in 2011. Stuttering was quite noticeable on the run through the woods heading towards Riverwood, with some pretty noticeable hitches that could last several seconds at worst. It's much the same inside Riverwood itself as well. It was at that point that I decided to give up on running a benchmark, as performance was so bad that I literally couldn't stop CapFrameX from capturing the performance figures, as the hotkey for starting and stopping the benchmark wouldn't register me pressing it at all, meaning I'd end up recording parts that shouldn't be in the benchmark, such as loading screens, etc. So I continued to play through the game for a bit, and performance was still pretty poor. The game actually froze for a good minute at least after I'd entered Bleak Falls Temple, and throughout the temple itself the stuttering was still there, which, along with the hitches, had an effect on combat, often making it difficult, or more than it should be anyway. There were no major hitches in here like there had been anywhere else though, to be fair. So to finish off, and to give the Sempron a better chance at running well in at least one game, I tried GTA Vice City. To my disappointment, it ran just as badly as GTA San Andreas did. It was pretty stuttery throughout, even having major hitches lasting anywhere between 450 milliseconds to 1.1 seconds. This, though, wouldn't be bad enough to stop you from playing. However, when doing the mission where you have to chase after a guy on a golf course, I almost failed it as I got quite a bit of input locking while driving the cart at one point. The golf cart just kept turning and turning. The last issue I had, and this is more a problem of the game itself, not anything performance related, but the PC controls for this game are terrible. And unfortunately, that's where I had to stop the tests, because after I'd finished benchmarking Vice City, I packed the system away for the day, went off and carried on with the rest of my evening. Came back the next day, set the system up again to carry on with the tests. I was going to do Cinebench R23 and then do some overclocked testing for the games and Cinebench as well. But then I was met with this. This is the user profile presumably being corrupted. Because no matter how much I tried to log in, it just would not happen at all. So yeah, that kind of stopped the test right there, because there was basically no way I could fix that short of doing a complete reinstall of Windows, which, like, given the performance you've seen, isn't really worth it. I would have liked to have done overclock testing, because that still would have been quite interesting, but yeah, it's a bit too much for the scope of the video to do. That aside though, I would definitely say the Sempron 3200 Plus is not suited to modern operating systems at all. For operating system, probably wouldn't use anything newer than Windows 7. Probably Windows XP at the most, actually. And games, given that Vice City released in 2003, 3 years before the CPU did, and still performed as badly as it did, it might perform better on Windows XP. But for games wise, I probably wouldn't try to play anything newer than sort of late 90s ish on it. But yeah, finish off the video. I want to thank Patreon supporters Shadow in the Void, Matt Sterak, and Jimmy the Bantam. You'll also be seeing a list of my other patrons here, or in the middle of the screen, right about now. I'll put like links and whatnot down in the description if you'd like to support me in creating these videos as well. But for now, hopefully you enjoyed my little look at the Sempron 3200 Plus. From this video onwards, I probably won't test any sort of single core processors in Windows 10. I'll probably have a Windows 7 installed for that as well. But yeah, for now that's going to be it. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one.